Loving immunity, beloveds, healing and health. One of the hardest things, and I usually don't call anything hard, I truly believe that this world is easy. I believe that this world is easy. Why? Because it's consciousness. I believe that this world is the most beautifulest place. It's heaven on earth. I believe, not just believe, I know. I know because this is pure consciousness. This is pure wellspring, which means it's energy. So I know this world is the greatest gift that God birthed itself into to become the wellspring of life. But the hardest thing for me, the one thing in life that was the hardest thing for me was healing. When you and I speak the truth, beloveds, and a lot of people get offended. A lot of people, you say that you are up here. You say that you have this understanding. You say that you have um, this desire to want to help and to want to heal and make things better. But the truth of all matter, which is E equals MC2, or the atom that forms into the molecule or into the matter, or the genetic code that governs the cell and the body, is that it is one in itself. And the hardest thing about healing to me is knowing this beautiful, beautiful testament to life. I mean, just knowing it and having a whole world surround you. It's like everywhere you look, having a whole collective unconsciousness. That's all I can say it at this time. And it's going to offend many. And at this point, I truly don't care if it offends many. As I stated, how I got to this beautiful, beautiful testament of life is being offended. I had to be offended all my life to get to the understanding where I say, no more. It's no more. It's no more. You don't have that right. No one had the right to put me in the position that I was put in. We live in a narcissistic conformity. That's the only thing that I can say. It says, do not be conformed. We live in a narcissistic conformity, which means we live in a mentality, a belief system, a belief structure that is an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. There is nothing healthy within that structure, within that foundation, within that belief system, within that entity, which is this body. You hear me? This is the entity. The world has you out there serving all external entities. But what lives inside of this body is the entity of life. This is where you need to understand health. This is where you need to understand well-being. This is where you need to understand mental health. This is where you need to understand physical health. The kingdom of heaven lives within, beloveds. And this is something, I do these things because no one was doing them for me. So I had to get so freaking offended, to be honest. I had to get so offended that I said, you know what? Everything that I pray for, everything that I ask for is going to be to correct. You hear me? To correct myself. I want to be healed, Lord. I want to be better, Lord. See, I don't ask for the things of the world. Those things of the world, I've watched many narcissistic people, and I'm just going to speak the truth. It's no one out there who's honoring a world of duality, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, who's not going to be a double-edged sword against me. There is no one with that pure, righteous, loving heart. There is no one with that renewed mind. There is no one with that agape spirit that's not going to put me in spiritual warfare in that world. I mean, beloveds, there's just no one. Birds of a feather flock together. And when you are the head, you can't operate on the levels of the tail. You will be at spiritual warfare every day of your life, thinking that you deserve that, thinking that it is okay because we have been put in a foundation, a structure, a system, and a belief system where it's justifiable to hurt people, where it's literally justifiable to hurt a nervous system. Now, if you know you are a nervous system, if you know that nervous system controls your energy, the flow or the wellspring of your life's flow, and you still operating on the structure or just a mentality, all it is, beloveds, is a mentality. And this is why I say healing was the very hardest thing for me ever to do. It's not life. Life serves me. Oh, life serves me so beautifully, beloveds. Y'all can't even understand. I ask, and those things are given on to me. Everything that I've asked for in my life, I don't ask for worldly things. I don't. I do not ask for worldly things. Why? Because I've seen how those worldly things have come against me. Money is treacherous. People will do anything for money. And they worried about hoes and pimps. Oh no. Ooh, I thank you, Spirit, for confirming that. Money, people with a money mentality, they are the most treacherous. 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 You know where that word has to dwell, beloveds. We need to be honest. First thing about healing and health is about being honest about the living truth. The living truth. See, this body right here, we serve a living God. Do you know this body is a living God? And when you can get that, when you truly, truly, truly can comprehend, we serve a living God. We serve a living God. That is like, it's like giving you the elixir to life. I'm giving you the elixir to life. Why am I giving you the elixir to life? Because it's free, number one. This is why I say people whose mentality is money, they are treacherous. Treacherous. They will wipe you, your family, everything off the face of this earth, and then say that God told them to do it. We got to address truth, beloved. See, truth is so beautiful. Truth is healing and health within its own establishment. See this? See this? Ooh. Mm, Every day, establish your kingdom. Every day, establish your kingdom. The kingdom of heaven lives within. I don't sit on a throne in the world. I sit on a throne in my spirit. My spirit is my throne, and my consciousness is my crown, and my genetic code is my royalty. I sit in my kingdom of heaven within. I sit on the right side of God. Every single day, I do not go outside of my kingdom. My kingdom come. My kingdom is the becoming. So the hardest part about healing, and especially for myself, healing was very hard for me because, as I stated, the world operates in duality. The world operates in spiritual warfare. I mean, it's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You get out in that world and you in an unhealthy state of being. You're surrounded by plagues, pestilence, and disease, and many people, they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to face facts. They don't want to honor the very thing that they say they represent. And this is why it was so hard for me to heal, because I see these things. I know these things. And these people who believe they know these things, they don't. They don't know them at all. I don't care if you have a degree. I don't care if you have a paperwork to back you up. Do you have a renewed mind? Do you understand the very law and foundation of life's existence from its root to its ending? From the beginning to the ending, do you understand these things? And no one can say that they do, because if you follow a doctrine and your very understanding does not live in doctrine, it does not live in doctrine. No understanding of this human, this being. You hear me? I'm not talking about the human, because the human is not real, beloveds. You serve a living God. And if you serve in the God of this body, or what the Bible says, the Son of Man, you're not serving a living God. You're not serving a living God. You will never serve a living God. That God does not exist. That God will never exist. That God is a figment of its own imagination. And it teaches its children the same sin, sickness, and death. So the hardest part about healing for me was being in a world where everything, the structure, the foundations, the teaching, the entities, everything is not real. That was the hardest part to me with healing. And as I told you, I don't believe life is hard. I know life is not hard. I know life is easy. I know life is beautiful. I know life is here to cater to you. You're not here to cater to the world. It says, do not be conformed by the world, but by the renewing of my mind. The world takes care of you. It says, I gave you dominion. Do you know what dominion is? Which means that it has to take care of you. It must take care of you. Why? Because it's elemental, just like you. Birds of a feather flock together. Elements take care of elements, beloveds. And just like the people of the world, they don't take care of the world because they're operating in duality. Duality automatically separates. It doesn't live by the law of I and my Father are one. It lives by the law of I am what I am, and that's all I am. And if you're not in my clique, if you're not operating on my understanding, I got the right to kill, steal, and destroy you. And this is why it is so hard. Let me take that back. It was so hard for me to heal. It's hard to heal in a narcissistic energy. See, a lot of you guys, you don't have the comprehension and the understanding that this world is just a frequency and vibration, beloveds. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful. Thoughts become things. Just like a breath. You taking in everybody's. You're like taking in everybody's plague, pestilence, and disease. You're taking in a thought, just like a breath is a thought as well. Everything is feeding. It says, surely if you eat, do you hear me? Eat. It's like telling you, you're a vessel. And everything that you take in, you're eating it. You're just eating it. You're the vessel. They've taught us to think that eating is just for the mouth. No, 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 no. This part is the illusionist. The mouth is the illusion of creation. So I don't ever see me taking in nothing from my mouth. That's the third dimension. The third dimension, I don't operate on that dimension, beloveds. It's not real. The minute I get to take in my consciousness to something that's not real, remember what it's going to do to you. And the word became flesh. It's going to consume you. It's going to become your becoming. Now, a lot of things have made me sick in my life, literally. You have to come to the point where you just say, I'm going to honor the truth because I want to be healed and I want to be healthy. When you get to that point, when you truly get to that point, beloveds, the spirit within you, the kingdom of heaven within you is going to salute you. So be it, my child. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to take these steps? Are you ready to have eyes to see? Are you ready to purify this land? Are you ready to become the wellspring of life? See, the hardest part for me of healing was coming out of the world's conformity. That was the hardest part, beloveds. Being so addicted, because you have to remember your chemical body. You've become addicted to that. I call it insanity. I'm just going to speak the truth. It's insanity. Here you are, a conscious being in a world that's unconscious. That's insanity. Here you are, a healthy vessel of life, because you're a cell, operating in a belief system that tells you that you got to make yourself healthy. They are telling you to make yourself healthy. They're making you do things, and health is its own understanding. It's its own birthright. You see what I'm saying? The hardest part about healing and health to me is getting out of a world where it doesn't exist. It's just, it don't exist in that world, beloveds. And when you have eyes to see this, you'll be like, God, man, ooh, I'm getting the chills, because it's the truth. You start really seeing what you've been giving your own beautiful soul away to. It says, what does a man profit if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? You're losing your soul. It says, how do you add a day onto your lifespan? In the Bible, is telling us, like, the Bible is the most beautifulest book of nature that you can ever understand. But in a renewed mind, don't you have that world teaching you of your understanding, and they still operating under the third dimension of flesh? Don't you ever have nobody teach you? Don't you ever step into the belief system of anything that is not living? Remember, you serve a living God. But the world don't teach you about that living God. It will never teach you about the living God, because it couldn't be the world. See, the world is taking your soul to create its image. And where's your image and likeness? See, you already came into this world as God's image and likeness. And then you're giving it over to the world. It says, what does a man profit if he gives, if he gains? Gives and gains is the same thing. The whole world, and he ain't got no soul. So that was the hardest part about healing and health. Walking around in the midst of all these soulless entities. They know not what they do. They literally know not what they do. They don't know that they're unhealthy. They don't know that they're insane. I got to speak the truth. I cannot speak a lie, beloveds. And this may offend many. I've been offended my life. People done call me all kind of stuff. I'm drinking of your poison, beloveds. I'm drinking of your sin, beloveds. I'm drinking of your death, beloveds. I'm drinking of your understandings, beloveds. I'm drinking of your poison. That's enough offense. That's enough offense to know that I'm going to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And if I'm not telling the truth, you represent this truth to me, in me and externally. See, I know I call those things to be in which they are, as within, so without. So I don't have to tell a lie. I don't have to be offended by anything that's not true at this point. But before, everything that was coming at me from that world was unhealthy. It was unhealthy. There's not a healthy state of being in that world. Everybody is operating in duality. And the very first root to understand what duality is, I and my Father are one. If I'm a body and you a body, we one. That's it. It's so simple. Life is very simple. Life is so easy. It takes care of itself. But when it's separated, when it's denominalized, when it's segregated, it is a cesspool of nothing but wickedness. And wickedness to a energetic body that's not guarded and shielded. Wickedness to a chemical body that doesn't understand it needs to have nothing fed to it. It says, surely if you eat from the tree of good and evil, you're going to die, is disease. It's just disease, beloveds. You're taking in nothing but dark matter. Dark matter. In dark matter, I want to give you a better understanding of what dark matter is. Dark matter, we got to understand that matter is flesh. Good morning. Matter is nothing but flesh, beloveds. It says, do not honor flesh, but honor the spirit. So dark matter is somebody's mind that is a plague against itself, and it's operating on matter, and now it's feeding you that same matter. It's just like the word becoming flesh. If every day somebody feeds you a word like, you're ugly, are you black, are you stupid, every day, if you just keep continuing to hear that, that's dark matter. Or you're a minority, or you're not good enough, or you're not equal. That's dark matter. Every day, this dark matter. You see, that person's mouth, the power of life and death is in the tongue. That person's not even their mouth. See, it's just like a breath too. It's an ether. That person's mind, that person's heart. It says, who knows the heart is wicked? You see what I'm saying? God is, we serve a beautiful God. God wants us to know the truth. God needs that truth to be living in us, because truth is living. Truth is living, and once it lives in you, beloveds, you will never turn back into that pillar of salt. You ain't gonna never look back like Lot's wife, ever. You never gonna look back, because the Holy Spirit is the living truth. And when it dwells in you, oh, beloveds, that's where health, that's where healing lives as its own transformation. It turns into its own immunity called life. And then you don't fight battles anymore, since the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. But the hardest part about healing is being so programmed, being so comfortable, being so spelled, being so addicted to the world's conformity, that when you're coming out of it and you don't have a person like me, someone who understands how to walk you through the dark nights soul, because you go through a dark night soul, beloveds. You will go through this transformation, because you've been dealing with a lot of pain. What lives in you is a lot of dark matter. These people have put nothing but curses and spells inside of you, like you're spelled in your own conformity. Many people believe they're stupid, and they're not stupid. That's all they heard all their life. Many people believe they're ugly, and they the most beautifulest entities in this whole world. Many people believe they sick, because the only thing that they ever was taught in their life was sickness. Many people think that they're not worthy, because the only thing that they were ever taught in their lives was to be unworthy. We have been taught so many abusive, dark matters, which I call spells. You know, every time somebody speaks something that's not uplifting, see, the power of life and death is in what we speak when it comes to the third dimension. I'm only talking on fleshful nature. See, I don't mess with fleshful nature, but in order to help my people no longer perish, I got to get down to their level and their understanding. I don't operate in that realm anymore, beloveds. The only reason why I'm doing this is because this is my heart's desires. I tell you, God gives you whatever you want. And my desire is not the world. The world is already mine. I don't have to ask God for anything of the world. What I have to ask God for is to heal my people. I want that. I want that more than anything in this world. I want to operate in health. I want to live amongst beautiful souls and minds so evolved and so conscious that sickness, sin, and death cannot dwell amongst us, beloveds. That's what I want. So the hardest part about healing is coming out of the addiction. We have been taught to be addicted to being hurt. We have been taught to being addicted to be around people who are lethal weapons. Like literally, you don't realize on a daily basis you are around lethal weapons. These people, they find nothing wrong about hurting another person, about judging another person. It just comes to them so naturally that they get off on doing it. Many people, and I tell you, it's just because we're ran by a narcissistic mind. And if you want to understand the mind of the world, all you have to do is go to the foundations that teach every body of existence structure. If you want to know what governs the mind, if you want to know what type of mentality you have been taught by, and it doesn't stem from the parent, beloveds. It does not stem from the parent. The parent does not teach you anything. I don't teach my daughter anything. And let me tell you, this is another thing about understanding how to heal. Because when you start healing and you want to get healthy, you're still going to be surrounded by these unhealthy and unhealed entities. And I call them entities because I want you to see them not as their name, not as their color, not as their race. I want you to see them as your entity. An entity is like the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit don't know us by our name. It just knows us by our frequency and our vibration. So how we resonate. It knows us by our resonance. Are you a wicked heart, or are you a wellspring of life? Does your heart flow like the wellspring of life? So are you health? Or are you out here making people unhealthy? That's how I want you to start seeing people. Stay away from unhealthy beings or entities. That's how you're going to start becoming healthy. Every day you stay away from that mentality, because it says, surely if you eat, remember these people is feeding you. The power of life and death is in the tongue. These people are feeding you on a daily basis unhealthy states of being, which is dark matter. The structure that feeds the mind is the structure in which governs the mind. And if I had to go to the structure who fed me, it would be the government, religion, and the schools. Those would be the three structures that fed me life. They taught me nothing. This that I know right now, they didn't teach me this. You know who taught me this? The renewed mind. The Holy Spirit taught me this. Because mind is over matter. So we can see the same trinities: body, mind, and soul. Soul is the spirit. Mind is the consciousness. And the body is just the image and the likeliness of spirit. That's all it is. It's a very beautiful trinity to life. But when you got three entities, one of them controlling each one of them. So the schools, they control the body. Religion controls the spirit. And the government controls the mind. I hope you got that. So these three entities are teaching those three trinities what they believe it should do for them. The renewed mind teaches you what you should do for your genetic code. That's it. All you are is a genetic code. All you are is a bloodline. God is only going to teach you about the living truth. See, those entities, they don't teach us about a living truth. So there's nothing healthy in those foundations. There's nothing healthy. They have never taught us one thing about health. They teach you have to go and eat right. You got to do all these things to become healthy, but God knows our hearts. God knows we are a cellular nature. God knows that mind is over matter. So you're already health. See, God, we serve a living God. God ain't gonna never teach us something that's not true. And this was the hardest part about healing and health with me, was staying in God's shield long enough to become so guarded, so guarded that the words of the deities of the world could not penetrate my body and become dark matter in me. That was the hardest part about healing and health. Coming out of the world and its conformity and its beliefs and its understandings, and giving God enough time to work on me. This morning I woke up, I had a dream, and that dream was showing me that I'm getting better. You know, I grew up in a foundation where it was okay to hurt people. It was okay to be labeled. It was okay to be treated as a black sheep. So that was my hardest thing. I've had very bad trust issues with people in my life because I see the duality of the world. I see how people justify why it's okay to hurt other people. I see why people allow other people to hurt people. It's just no reason why we hurt one another. It's unhealthy, number one. When it comes to life or death, that's how you have to see all life. Every day when you get out your bed, you need to see your existence as life or death. It's what you're doing today operating in the realms of life or death. You only got two options, beloveds. In this vessel, you got two options. You got one. Jesus said, I came to give you life and life abundantly. And Barnabas said, I'm hanging you on that cross. You choose me, you getting hung on the cross. Barnabas represents death, sickness, greed, lust. He represents the unhealthy spirit. And Christ, he represents the Christ consciousness. He represents the conscious spirit, the spirit that knows I am. Tell him I am sent me. So every day you have to make a conscious choice about everything in your life. Number one, is the world real? No. So my conscious choice will never be to go out into a world where I know I'm operating amongst spirits of, surely if you eat from that tree of good and evil, you're going to die. Every day I got to make a conscious choice of this. And that was the hardest part about healing, beloveds. Making that conscious choice every day when I was addicted. Literally, I was addicted to being a carnal mind, to being a sin. I was addicted to believing I should believe in death. I was addicted. Mind is over matter. So the thing that dies is this body. Do you get what I'm saying? Can you comprehend that? The body dies only because it's made in the image and the likeliness of the mind. So if my mind believes in death, my body must follow. Ask, and it shall be given. If my mind believes in sickness, then my body must follow. Ask, and it shall be given. And this is how you've been operating since the day you've come out your mother's womb. You've been operating in a mentality that is taught you to ask for those things. Literally just taught you to ask for them. And you don't even comprehend this. You have no eyes to see this. They know not what they do. You know not what you do. That world knows not what it does. And to see professionals, it says, do not honor false prophets. Do not honor idols and statues. It's like that whole world is operating off of the very things that the Bible tells you not to honor, beloveds. So the hardest part to me about healing and health is coming out of a structure, coming out of a foundation, coming out of a whole belief system that does not and has never served me anything healthy. And knowing that this structure, everything is set up, the belief system, everything has my mind set up that if I come out of it, I can no longer sustain myself. If I come out of it, I won't be taken care of. But on this side, consciousness has been taking care of that world. Your consciousness has been given that world the authority to lead you against your own life and life abundantly. See, God already gave you dominion over the world. You already got it. But you taking your dominion and you selling it to the world. It says, what does a man profit if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? You have nothing. Everybody in that world right now believe they have something. And literally they have nothing. They have nothing. The minute that Babylon or that Sodom and that Gomorrah or that world no longer has the immunity of the soul, it falls. The minute evolution is ready to rise itself, everything in that world is going to fall. And just remember who's been holding it up. Was it you? What does a man profit if he gains the whole world and it's not real? And he loses his soul. Your soul is real. We serve a living God. And you willing to sacrifice your living, your life, your abundance for poverty. Money is poverty. Chasing health is poverty. Chasing sustainability is poverty. Using your soul, which is your renewed mind, to build a world which is a matrix, an illusion, has not one bit of health, has not one bit of righteousness, has not one bit of anything in it. What does a man profit? There's no profit in a world. The kingdom of heaven lives within. You were born inside of this kingdom within. So how could you be profiting anything outside of you? It just doesn't exist. This was the hardest part about healing. Being so addicted to that world's conformity and belief systems and understandings, and being so afraid of what it would do to me if I just took the time to heal myself, to love myself, to honor myself, to respect myself. Because everything that world teaches you about love and respect and dignity and worth and value is not real. It's just made up shit. As much as I thought I loved myself, as much as I thought I respected myself, and all those people out there who believe they doing this right now, and they are not. That was the hardest part. Coming into an understanding where I already saw this because I was internal. I had the vision in the eyes of the internal world since I was 5. But I still was addicted to that world. I was addicted to it. It taught me, it fed me. Surely if you eat from that tree of good and evil, that world has been feeding me since I was 5 years old. Since I started school, that world has been just feeding me, consuming me with dark matter. And that's all that's dwelling in me. Everything that world has taught me is now dwelling in my kingdom. It's using me like a bot, an artificial intelligence, AI. Everything I think, everything I know. That was the hardest part to my healing. Getting that shit out of me. Letting it all come out. Toxicity, evil, hate, judgment, fear, rage, racism. I can go on with the deadliest sins. If you knew what dwells in that mentality. See, mind is over matter. So the things that are dwelling in these people's minds right now is lethal weapons. And when you see truth, when you know truth, what truth does to you, beloveds, it puts on the armor of God. This is why we have to understand that scripture, that which is so beautiful. When you start understanding truth, truth starts to lead you. It will never lead you astray. It might not lead you like the world, which you don't want it to do. The world is not a healthy place. It's not a healthy place. And the people who are operating in it, they're not healthy. In the world, it speaks of plagues, pestilence, and disease. Well, that is the world. That's what causes plagues, pestilence, and disease, beloveds. And you have to get out of it in order to heal. The healing that the world teaches you of, that's not permanent. It's no permanent anything in that. There's nothing healthy in that understanding. And that was the hardest part to me, is knowing that I got these people who are trying to tell me how to govern me, and I'm already governed by a living God. And you got the authority to lead all these people into, thank you, Spirit. Thank you so much, Spirit. You have been given the authority to govern all these people in harm's way. That was the hardest part. And then standing up, just standing up and saying something about it. Because if I don't say anything about it, I'm just like the people who have let this world come to the end of its days. I'm just like those people. Because I was a coward. Because I honored fear. Because I, what? Because I what? I can't justify. I cannot justify a living law. I can't justify why I did this or why I did not do this. The only reason why I would say it is because I was evil. If I couldn't stand up on the law that the wrath is not mine, it's the Lord's. So if I couldn't stand on a truth that defends and protects itself, I am that evil dwelling within my own state of being. I am that evil. I am the adversary. So the hardest part to me about healing and health was, because I believe that I'm where I need to be right now to consider myself healthy and healed. It was letting go, just letting go, letting go, letting it all out, speaking the truth, honoring my mind as the renewed consciousness, which the world does not want you to conform in, which the world does not want you to believe in. All those people out there, naysayers, haters, that's what a naysayer is. That's what a hater is. It's a person who does not realize that they have been taught to not honor themselves, and now they don't honor you. Every time I hear and I see somebody trying to tell me what I'm saying is not true, trying to make me feel as though what I am saying is a blasphemy, or even stopping what I'm saying, all God does is shows me what type of mentality, what type of entity, what type of immunity that person has. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me feel anything. It just allows me to have more discernment to know I'm getting better. I'm getting healthier. I'm healing. See, when that type of spirit or entity cannot control you anymore or lead you anymore or honor you in so much fear and hate and evil and jealousy and racism and injustice, and I can go on with all the deadly sins that live within many kingdoms, which plague many hearts, which lead many minds. And I don't judge them. I just see, thank you, God. Thank you for healing me. Thank you for healing me. I had a dream. I woke up to a dream this morning, remembering the abuse, remembering that past that I'm no longer existing in. Just remembering it. That dream was allowing me to see how I was going to get up this morning and produce my life. Are you going to go back like Lot's wife? Are you going to look back? No. I love my health. I love my healing. I love that God has taken me into this new earth, taking my soul and governing it according to a living God. Now, I could have woke up this morning from that dream. It shook me a little, don't get me wrong, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why did I have that dream? Why did I have that dream? And then the saddest part is that it was somebody so close to me. And then I got to truly see what God was trying to get me to see. Is He was trying to get me to see it clearly now. He was showing me clearly that this is what you were once. This is what you were once. You were this once. Because that person, it says birds of a feather flock together. That person was a representation of my reflection. As within, so without. As within, so without. Remember, the genetic code creates the mind and the body. So I am it first. And just like every one of those people in the world operating as plagues, pestilence, and disease, they are it. It's not the mind and it's not the body. It's them. They are what destroys the land. They are what destroys the body. They are what destroys the mind, which is the image. One is the image and one is the likeliness of God, which is the spirit. And they are not of God anymore. They've conformed that image and that likeliness to sickness, sin, and death. And that is what the Bible speaks of plagues, pestilence, and disease. Those are the three other trinities that destroy itself, because that type of all I can call it is mentality cannot live in an elemental kingdom. It just can't sustain itself. And this is why it says in the book of law, what does a man profit if he gains the whole world and then loses his soul? What do you profit? You profit nothing but death. Surely if you eat from that tree of good and evil, you're going to die. You're profiting nothing. And everything that you touch, everything that you teach, everything that you lead will be an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Innocent souls will be lost because of your neglect, because of your adversary. See, when you are an adversary, when you have segregated, when you have separated, you're now the lethal weapon. You're now the lethal weapon. You're now the spiritual warfare. You're now the power and principality that the Bible speaks about. It's you. I was once that, beloveds. I was once that unhealthy state of being. You know, a lot of people, and not because of anything I did. That's the saddest part about not realizing who you are, is that I was a victim. I was a victim. All my life I was a victim. But God don't honor victims either. Birds of a feather flock together. Victimizers create victims. Oppressors create oppression. It's telling you, birds of a feather flock together. And we have to realize that I and my Father are one. I'm not trying to be eating from a tree of good and evil. That's automatically, there's no health and there's no healing. If I would have stayed in that world's conformity, if I would have stayed out there under those belief systems, under what was governing me, under what was teaching me, up under what was leading me, I would have never, ever, I would have died when COVID came. When all that energy awakened, COVID would have got me. Oh, and it was coming after me, beloveds. Y'all can't even understand my journey. It was coming after me. I had to fight. I had to fight. And not because I did anything wrong. And that is the saddest part about this understanding. It was because of what dwelled in me. What dwelled in me? A lot of pain, a lot of death. No one spoke life over me. And when the COVID hit, with many people, they lost their lives because the energy was so freaking powerful. It was so strong because of all the fear, because of everything that just dwelled in them as well. It was what dwelled in them. When you understand these entities are using you, sickness uses you. It needs a vessel. When you realize that hate uses you, it needs a vessel, and it also needs a mind. When you realize that these things are using you, you can no longer serve. You can no longer serve anything that is not for you. If God is for you, what can be against you? So anybody teaching me something that's not healthy, I'm not going to give my beautiful, healthy immunity over to them. I'm not going to uplift them. I'm not going to vote for them. I'm not going to allow them. And the same thing, I'm learning. I even got to get my daughter out of that system because I want her to be healthy. Her only right to life is health. That's her right to life, her health. God wouldn't have made us a genetic code if that wasn't our right to life. And that system does not honor that part of you. That's your living right. You have but one living right, and that is your health. Jesus told us, I came here to give you life and life abundantly. And what gives this body life? Health does at our understanding. Health gives this body life. And nothing in that world is healthy. That was the hardest part of me about me healing, was coming out of that. I was addicted. Literally, I was addicted to being abused, because people justify abuse. That's one of my things where I try to show you, how can you not abuse elderly and children, but you can abuse minorities? You see what I'm saying? That world is so sick that it doesn't realize that it is sick. And my heart's desires is to heal it. That's what my heart's desires is. My heart's desires ain't to live like that world. I don't want to live like that world, beloveds. That world is, it never added one thing on to me a day in my life. Not one thing did that world ever add on to me, beloveds. And I hate to say this, it's not healthy. My heart's desires is to ensure my people don't perish. My people perish because of lack of knowledge. What I pray for every day, what I stand for every day, what I choose every day is to live amongst my people in a mentality, in a body that is healthy, that is healed, that is knowledgeable, and that is worthy of itself. Many people don't even realize there's no worth in that world. There's no value in that world. There's no healing in that world. There's no health in that world. None of those things exist. They just don't exist, beloveds, because the kingdom of heaven lives within. Everything you need lives within this kingdom That's why you are consciousness and the world is unconscious. So why would you be unconscious? Who would lead you to be unconscious? Who would teach you to be unconscious? Yes. I pray every day. God answers my prayers. This is my prayer. Being able to come on here every day and speak the living truth. If it touches a heart, if it awakens a heart, if it leads another soul, I've done the will of God. I've done the will of life. My birthright, my living birthright has already been sustained, beloveds. I'm just a genetic code. You just a genetic code. We just a genetic code. As long as I'm honoring my genetic code, which is my soul, what does a man profit? You hear me? If he gains the whole world and everything has already been given on to you, you gaining something that's already yours. You see what I'm saying? You've already forfeited. You've already denied. It's like it does not make sense. And that's what ignorance is, beloveds. Knowledge is knowledge. Ignorance is ignorance. And everything of that world is ignorant. It's pure ignorance. It's not real. It's an illusion. It's false. It's made up. It leads you astray. It teaches you things that you already are not. You're not. You don't chase health. You don't create health. You don't make health. You don't do things for health. Health is just a state of mind, beloveds. As a man thinketh, so it is. And you also can't think of things that are not of God. The book of Job taught us this. Everything in that book was the devil. Spirit was trying to tell the devil, which is man. Spirit was just talking in Job. That whole book of Job was just one entity. It was the ego mind versus the renewed mind, which is spirit. That's all the book of Job was. He wasn't talking to no other entities. It's just one entity. I and my Father are one. I'm you. I'm a mind just like you. We carry the same legacy. We carry the same testament. We carry the same elemental kingdom. So why are they out there trying to teach us as individuals? Why are they out there trying to teach us as whatever they teaching us as? Is ignorance, pure ignorance. And the book of Job taught me this. The book of Job taught me that what was happening inside of Job at that time was Job was awakening. Job was awakening. He was seeing, I lost everything. On this journey here, just like Job did, I lost everything. I buried many of my children. If I didn't bury them physically, I buried them mentally and emotionally. I lost so much from that world's understanding. I lost enough to know that I want to serve a living God. I want to serve a living God. That world ain't teaching me about nothing living. That world ain't teaching me about nothing healthy. Do you know I gave those children over to the world. I literally let my children be sacrificed. And that's all the book of Job was about. It was teaching you what we sacrifice. What does a man profit if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? The book of Job is teaching us about that very understanding, beloveds. And healing and health is honoring yourself every single day outside of the world's conformity. You becoming a living legacy of the living truth. You want to become a legacy? You don't honor materialism. You honor living things. That's where your legacy lies. You want a real legacy? You honor life. You honor a living God. You are the legacy. You honor materialism. What is you honoring? A figment of your imagination. Hopefully, when you come back, that type of understanding is still alive. You see what I'm saying? We got to wake up, beloveds. Ain't nothing healthy in that world. And if you taking your pure immunity, your wellspring out and tainting it, like now you become this adversary. It's you. The book of Job taught us that. Jesus taught us that too when he went up to the mountain. Moses taught us that too when that good old narcissistic ego mind started talking to them, trying to get them to come back down before before they were ready to deal with that world. Many people want to think that I'm going to get out there and deal with a world before God has ordained me. No, 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 no. No, God got to ordain me to deal with anything when it comes to that type of entity, spirit, unconsciousness, because they know not what they do. I don't want to be unhealthy again. I have to protect my health. I have to protect my healing. And we all have to do this. We all have to do this. We have to protect our souls. We have to protect our well-being. And many people, they cannot do that. They are not doing that. So, if no one has told you today, beloveds, I'm going to get off of here because I'm just going to get off of here for now. Today is probably going to be my last video. If God brings something to me and I need to come on here, I will. But most likely, this is my last video. I believe that God woke me up with that testament to give everybody who has been feeding their souls from these videos. Beloveds, I am not against you. I'm so for you. And I'm so for you. Many people will be afraid to do these videos. They would not do these videos because it contradicts everything, their doctrine, their religion, their schooling, their belief system. Many people wouldn't. I was in that same chaos. I was in that same wilderness. I was in that same everything as those people. I'm not willing to profit a world. I'm not willing to profit a world, beloveds. And my soul is what gives me life and life abundantly. I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not willing to sacrifice God to eat from a tree of good and evil. And nobody should. My people perish because of that only lack of knowledge. That's why you perish. Do you know what perish means? Execute yourself. Death is execution. And if nobody has told you this, all you got to do is just see yourself at your root nature. You are a genetic code. Death is execution. And anybody teaching you of it, leading you in it, governing you under it, is executors. And that's the truth. Truth defends, protects, and does not deny itself, beloveds. That's why I can come on here and do these videos without persecution or fear of persecution, because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything to execute myself. Now, if I don't do this, then that's execution. I'm proving to myself I am the adversary. I am the executor. I'm proving to myself who I am. Tell them I am sent me. The only way I can prove that to my own self It's just to be it. The becoming of God, the renewed mind, the living word. That's how I prove to myself who I am. Tell him I am sent me. And not operating outside of who I am. Life is beautiful. Life is so beautiful, beloveds. Life is so worthy within itself. Body, mind, and soul. What does a man profit if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? Your soul is your life. It's your life abundantly. It's your health. It's your healing. It's your wealth. It's your legacy. It is your heart's desires. It is how God knows your heart. It is your wellspring. It is everything that God has already given on to you, decreed, and given you dominion over. I hear you, heart. Thank you for confirming that. You have a beautiful, beautiful testament inside of you. And it says you got to let God enter. Just like you have to let all those other things enter you. Well, you don't have to let God enter you. You just have to accept who you are. The minute you accept who you are, beloveds, you are the legacy. You unlock all the treasures that God has already stored up for you, beloveds. You unlock the land that was lost, that was stolen by the thief who comes to kill, steal, and destroy. You get back what the enemy stole. And it first starts with you, the prophecy. You start becoming like I am. You get to talk in it. You get to think in it. And then you get to be the embodiment of it. I don't go back into that world. I will never go back into that world, beloveds. Ever. And you might not have the understanding in which I have. The understanding clearly, with clarity, with knowledge, not with beliefs. See, that world operates off of beliefs. What I see the world as is nothing to do with how you see the world. You see the world as something tangible, as something physical, as something flesh. But I don't see the world that way. You see, we're still on two different. I'm on the level of a living existence. I don't see life like the world. I don't see death because it's not real. It's an illusion. I don't see duality because duality separates me. It separates me from my own immunity. It separates me from my own health. It separates me from my own well-being. So those things, I don't see them because they don't affect the world. Do you hear me? They do not affect the world. Everything y'all out there doing in that world does not affect the world. It affects you. You is who it affects. You hear me? Affects. Autoimmune deficiency affects. Unhealthiness. You hear me? When I say affects, all these people out here living affected. Your plagues, pestilence, and disease. You're affecting the body of existence. See, I don't see life as nothing but existence. And I don't want to be the thief who comes to kill, steal, and destroy. I don't want to be that thief. I want to be the legacy of life. I want to be the legacy. I want to be the generational breaker. I want to be the one that knows how to destroy, not destroy. I ain't going to destroy nothing because the battle ain't mine. The battle's the Lord's. It's already done. I want to be able to be the one who can uplift, rebuke anything that's not living, so that my people do not perish because of lack of knowledge. So if no one has told you this today, beloveds, love and immunity, this is most likely my last video, because I am coming into my promised land and I'm ready to enjoy it. I'm ready to enjoy it. I put in a lot of work, beloveds. I mean, I put in more work than that world will ever. All those eons y'all didn't profited, that world ain't got nothing to do on putting in the real work of life and life abundantly. I didn't put in enough work to sow my legacy as eternal, immortal immortality, beloveds. My Trinity suffices me. Have an amazing day, beloved.